Recently, somebody asked me, which bikes do you own? I know you review a ton of bikes, but I want to see the bikes that you own as yours. So today I'm going to show you the bikes that I have. So I'm super fortunate. I get to test ride and review bikes for my job. And I've ridden some incredible bikes. I've ridden some bikes that I didn't click with, and I've ridden some bikes that after I sent them back, they haunted me and I ended up purchasing them. So today we're going to go through my collection and I'm going to talk about each bike and why I have it and what I like about it. First up, we have my trials bike. This is a 1990s, I believe, maybe early 2000s Planet X. I can't even remember the model. I did a build-up video of this over on Hardtail Party. It's an aluminum frame 26-inch trials bike, and it's got 98% the same geometry as a modern inspired Hex. We've got Stan's Baron wheels on here, beautiful wide wheels with 26 by 2.4s front and rear. We've got SRAM GX cranks in a 165 length, inspired bash guard, Trial Tech chain tensioner in there. That's a really cool way to tension the chain. And a pivotal saddle up there. This bike makes me feel like a beginner more than any other bike. I grew up racing BMX and you think, oh, that kind of looks BMX-like. The riding position is so different. You're so over the front. The chainstay is so insanely short, so short. And when I ride this thing, it's extremely humbling and I can barely do anything on this bike. I can barely get up a curb, but something about it is so much fun. The long stem, the tall stack, the way that it puts you over the front axle makes endos extremely easy and extremely fun. I love watching trials riders, and I know that trials riders have some of the best technical skills out there. So I built this up so that I could become a better technical rider. Currently, there's nothing I can do on this better than like a 29er hardtail. I'm just so used to 29ers. I can bunny hop higher on those. I can do better trial stuff on those. But I'm hoping that this will brush up some new skills and add some skills to my skills bank. It's really fun to take camping. My main buddy Cody's got one too. His is a little 20-inch trials comp bike. Trials is just really fun. And if you can get a few buddies around that do this, you can just hop around on rocks all day long. It's pretty low consequence. You don't get too messed up. And it's a great way to learn bike control. So there's my old Planet X that rides really great. And I have no reason to get a new trials bike. This is one of my signature bikes, the Stanton Sedona. Dan Stanton and I worked together to develop this frame. It's designed to make green and blue trails exciting and fun. A lot of us are overbiked on the trails we're riding, and that makes our trails less exciting. An enduro bike ridden on flatter trails isn't very fun, but a peppy, zippy bike like this absolutely is. We've done some really cool things. It's got a short seat tube so I can run a really long dropper. We've got a 200 mil dropper in there, and I have a 28-inch inseam. We've forward shifted the seat tube to get a better seat angle and to get more clearance, and to run our dropper completely internal, and then it pops up there. There's a no interrupt seat tube, so these bolts do not protrude into the seat tube, so we can run the dropper all the way down to here inside. It's got clearance for a 2.6. Currently, I'm running 2.35s on there. There will be a sliding dropout option. It's made of steel. This one's finished in the beautiful throwback heritage Toyota livery from like a 1983 Toyota pickup. Oh, absolutely beautiful. We're running Gulo wheels. These are carbon wheels with carbon spokes. The spokes are built in North Carolina. 24 hole. It's a 30i rim. It absorbs a lot of the trail chatter and makes for a really smooth ride. These Gulo claims that through their testing, they were able to measure that these carbon spokes reduce vibration by 7%. They were able to measure that, and it feels good. Really light wheels make for an exciting ride, and really fast tires like this Recon Race make for an exciting ride. Up front, we've got a 120 mil step cast 34. We've got a really long steer tube because I like a tall stack. 1-up carbon bars, Paul Clamper brakes, 5-dev titanium stem. It's just such a special, one-of-a-kind bike. I'm so proud of how this turned out. The reason I love this bike is you can get that dropper all the way out of the way, and it kind of has a trialsy dirt jumper feel to it. Super short rear end, but it's not overly slack or overly steep. It does so many things well. It actually ended up being far more capable than I expected. And you can definitely take this thing on black diamonds and even some double black diamonds. But really pleased with how that turned out. 2 water bottle mounts inside the frame. We got a 3-pack underneath. I got everything I wanted on this frame, and it turned out absolutely stunning. This is my other signature bike, the Binary Maniac. I worked with Binary to design this. It's the first signature bike that I made. It's got a lot of the same stuff as the Stanton Sedona, but this one's made out of titanium. It's quite light. We still have 2 water bottle cages. We have an uninterrupted C-tube that lands ahead of the bottom bracket. Beautiful, beautiful welds on this thing. This one has clearance for up to a 29 by 28. Even a 3.0 can fit in there. Sometimes it'll rub if you got it not quite perfect. You can run it single speed or geared. Right now I'm testing out these Elite carbon wheels on it, and it's running a 2.3 ground control in the rear and a 2.4 dissector up front. It's running this limited edition, special edition Cane Creek helm in pink. It just pops. It looks so good in person. We've got Roost titanium bars, Paul Clamper mechanical disc brakes, GX axis on here right now. This is featuring 5Dev's incredible titanium crank that they machine out of a solid chunk of titanium. Absolutely beautiful, with the 5Dev tie chainring as well. Absolutely stunning. Anything 5Dev that you see in this video, I've got a discount code for you guys. It's available. Using that code will help promote this channel. 5Dev is a great supporter of the channel, and they help make it possible, and I love their stuff. It's also got a 200 mil fall line 9.8. So being able to fit a 200 mil dropper makes a world of a difference for those of us with short legs. This thing's meant to make black diamonds and double black diamonds super fun. This bike is just so easy to control, and it's my best technical climber at like getting up and over boulders and bunny hop moves. This is my best bike for that. These frames are available to order from Binary, and when you do, it supports this channel. I make a small commission on each one because I designed it with them, and I surely appreciate the support, and a lot of people are loving this bike. It's not designed for like green and blue trails. It's really meant for shredding. With a plus 1.5 or a plus 2 degree angle set to steepen that head angle, it'll be a great option for green and blue trails, bike packing, long distance, things like that. Nice supple ride, really, really cool geometry, short rear end, sliding dropouts. I've even got some mounts right here for a bike rack. I haven't designed one yet, but I want to design something similar to the Trek that bolts on here. We've got that option there. Anyway, this is probably my all-time favorite hardtail, and if I were going on a road trip with hardtails and I didn't know what I was going to ride, this is what I'd take. I'd probably steepen the head angle by 1 degree if I wasn't sure if I'd be pedaling for 40 miles that day or shredding some double black diamonds. If I knew I was hitting black diamonds and double black diamonds, I'd leave it just as. What a special bike. Next up is my mint green Newhouse Metalworks steel frame. This is a Hummingbird M+, absolutely stunning bike. Sometimes I run this single speed. Currently I've got it set up geared. It's a really great platform for testing stuff out. It's a very supple frame. It's got nice trail geometry. It's not too rowdy, not too XC and sketchy and twitchy. It's like the perfect all-day bike, wonderful bike packing bike. Great green and blue trail bike, just a really, really special bike. On it I've got atomic wheels with bird spokes. Absolutely fantastic setup there. Super light, nice and compliant, really great ride feel. I run a specialized ground control tire in the back and a dissector up front. I really like that for my trail stuff. We've got Stanton titanium bars on here, 5Dev titanium stem, Paul Clamper mechanical disc brakes, Axis wireless, Paul dropper lever, 9.8 fall line R, 150 mil dropper, 5Dev 165 mil cranks. Right now I'm running a 30 tooth on there, kind of experimenting with that. But this is the bike I grab when I just want to connect with the trail and I want something simple and I don't care about racing or being the fastest. I just want to enjoy the ride. Here's one of my favorite full suspension bikes. It's not exotic, it's not super high priced. It's just great. It's affordable, it's a little bit heavier than some carbon wonder bike, but I don't really care. When I'm riding it, I'm smiling. This is my RSD Wildcat V3. I opted for the shorter travel one because I prefer trail riding over enduro smashing. Although I'd have no problem taking this thing on the whole enchilada, or enduro tracks, things like that. The 125 feels like so much more on this bike. It's got a 140 fork. It feels so poppy and so playful. It's got sliding dropouts, which is cool for a full suspension. You can run it 27.5, 27.5 plus. This is in 29 right now. I've run it mullet before. I really like it as a 29er personally, and I like that wheel tucked in there. It's got a really incredible pop. When you find a little root across the trail and you just boop, boop. Something about the suspension keeps some playful pop in there. It's just like a great snowboard that just has really great pop off of little things. It absorbs the bumps well without erasing the trail. Some bikes you ride feel like a magic carpet. They just completely erase the trail and it's totally smooth. Some people really like that. Me being a hardtail rider and growing up riding hardtails before I ever had a full suspension, I don't typically love that buttery smooth erase the trail. I like to feel it and pop off of things. And I haven't found another trail bike that makes me happier than this one. And so this one can be pushed hard into enduro territory. It can be jumped. You can do just about anything on it. It's 125 mil travel in the rear, 140 in the front. I don't want more travel. They make a higher travel version of this, and I don't want that. I feel like the higher travel bikes have a higher bottom bracket. I just feel like I'm on top of the bike more. I find that 125 to 130 in the back is plenty of travel for how I ride and what I like to do. Look at the dual slalom guys and look at the slope style guys. They're sending huge stuff on like 100 mil travel, dirt jump bikes and stuff. Anyway, let's dive into this. This one's got 1-up carbon bars in the higher rise. I've got Code RSC brakes, the new ones. I really like how these tuck up next to the bar. These are currently my favorite hydraulic brake. And on a bigger bike like this, where I'm gonna put in higher speeds and longer days descending and stuff, I want hydraulic disc brakes. I've run clampers on this, but I feel like these are a better fit for this type of bike. Running the Ergon GD1 grips like I do on all my bikes. We've got a 9.8 stem up here. I've got a 140 mil Cane Creek helm on here. That's my all-time favorite fork. A little bit heavy, it feels amazing. These are the Spinergy MXX30 wheels. They've got a foam core inside the rim to reduce vibrations. And these little black things are like straws. They're to protect what's inside of that. Inside of those little straws are a whole bunch of little strands. They look like a koosh ball, but they're obviously not a koosh ball. And those little strands, all those little strands create the strength of this, and they also reduce the vibrations. More than almost any other wheel set, these wheels reduce chatter like crazy, and so it's a really smooth ride on this thing. I love those Spinergy wheels. We are running 160 mil cranks on here. I'm experimenting with really short cranks, 30 chainring. I like the 160s. I actually do. It's less knee pain. I'm probably not quite as fast overall on the climbs as 165s, but I don't care. This DVO Topaz HV is magical. I don't know what's going on with it to make it so special, but it feels amazing. It's just got a really nice way of being supportive to pop off of things and still pump things without it diving. It could also be the suspension linkage that RSD has come up with. What I like about this bike is you can ride it hard like it's an enduro bike, like a 150, 160 travel bike. You can launch off of things into rock gardens and just plow through it, and it handles it just fine. And so it's got that beefier feel to it where you can just smash through stuff when you want to, but it's not so high travel that you're like wallowing in the travel and it just feels like the bike's a little bit dead or slow to respond. Really, really special. It's a little bit heavy. I think they could lighten up some of the hardware. It also has a 30.9 seat tube, which is a total bummer. I wish it was 31.6. I don't know why we're running smaller seat tubes anymore, where most bikes are 31.6. I've got a 1-up dropper in there. I can fit a 180. I wish I could fit a 200. That'd be really fun, but I don't know how you could possibly do that with the design. I love that I can fit a water bottle in it. I've rerouted the cables here to come under the shock. They're not really designed to do that, but it works perfectly. Yeah, what a special bike. This thing is not on anyone's radar. I've got a discount code for you guys. If you're ordering an RSD, use coupon code PARTY. It'll help support this channel and it'll save you money. I love what RSD is doing. They're making bikes affordable, but they're very fun bikes. And the RSD Wildcat V3 is my all-time favorite full suspension bike right now. And it shouldn't be, because I've ridden bikes 3 times its price and I still keep coming back to this one. This is my Spot Rive, another one of my full suspension bikes. It's a 115 rear, 130 front, and you'd think, oh, it's only 10 mil travel less than your Wildcat. Why would you have another bike with so much overlap? Despite only being 10 mil difference in travel in the rear, they're very, very different riding bikes. I fell in love with the Rive version 1 when I test rode it at a demo event. In fact, I've fallen in love with every single Spot that I've ridden. They are doing some truly special stuff. I'm not affiliated with them. They're not paying me to say this. This is my personal bike. I liked it so much that I purchased it from them. The Living Link suspension is not a magic carpet ride where it just disappears, where it just dissolves the trail so you don't feel anything. It's the most hardtail-like acceleration feel I've found on a full suspension. It loves to sprint. It loves to pop off things. It's got an energetic, exciting ride instead of kind of like a dull, muted ride. If you've ever ridden a pro enduro rider's bike that's like 38 pounds, really calm and composed and dull and just kind of heavy and soaks everything up, this is not that. It's not quite as light and zippy as something like an Ebike Evo, but I feel like I can push this harder than I can push an Ebike Evo. It's pretty amazing what this little guy will do. And because of the leaf spring and the Living Link design, you need to adjust your shock a little bit differently than you normally do. So give it time to get your shocks dialed in just right. Let's walk through the build. This has a RockShox Pike Ultimate 130 up front. We've got an NVM6 bar, a little bit more compliant than their other bars. We've got Code RSC brakes, Spinergy MMX30 wheels with these cool white spokes on them, 5 dev cranks, 165s, GX axis, and they came with a Bike Yoke Revive, which is a fantastic dropper. So this is my bike when I'm putting in long days and I don't want my body to get beat up, or I'm just going for a simple cruise that I'm not filming and I just want to connect with nature. This is the bike that I take. But every single one of Spot's bikes that I've ridden have this exciting, just zippy nature to them, and they were one of the first bikes to have a steep seat tube, and I really resonated with that. I feel like Spot's 5 to 10 years ahead of the other companies, but because they're smaller and fewer people know them, they don't get quite the recognition that they deserve, and they kind of fly under the radar. But they are doing some really special things. I used to own a Spot Rocker, their hardtail, fantastic bike. I just had too many bikes and had to let some go. Anyway, I think Spot's just really bleeding edge compared to most other bike companies. And it's too bad that they fly under the radar because their stuff is truly special. If you're ever at a demo event and you get a chance to ride a Spot, do it. The new Mayhem 140 really has my eye, and I can't wait to try that one day. Here we have my dirt jumper, my nuke-proof Solemn. This thing is so beautiful. I actually haven't ridden this yet. I built it up and then got sick and never got a chance to ride it. But I love pump tracks. I don't do big dirt jumps anymore. I'm getting too old for that, and it's less exciting, and I've lost a lot of those skills. But I love pump tracks. I love pumping around a skate park too, and that's what I built this for, was just a quick, zippy little pump track bike, 26-inch tires, Pike DJ up front, brand new. We've got this Trick Paul clamper, a cable disc brake in the rear in a polished aluminum. Oh, it just looks so good. Maxxis Pace with super fast rolling tread. And we've got 165 mil 5 dev cranks with 5 devs aluminum pedals. These pedals grip so well. And a 30 tooth up here with a big beefy chain on there. Pivotal seat post. Nuke-proof stem. The black and chrome just turned out so good. A lot of DJs have the exact same geometry, so it doesn't make a ton of sense to always update your DJ with the latest one. I mean, feel free to, but 10-year-old DJs are still great bikes, so you can still experiment with pump tracks and things like that without breaking the bank on a brand new bike. DJs have steep head angles. They're not slack. They want to be twitchy and responsive on the lips of jumps and at the skate park. And on the pump track, they've got really short chain stays, no seat. You don't sit down at all. And a little bit stiffer frames that need to take some abuse. You don't think about compliance on these things. Although a lot of street riders do. They prefer the steel bikes when they're doing big stair gaps and hucking off things, they actually get a little bit softer slam. Slam's the wrong word, but when you huck to flat on those. But since we're riding this for pump tracks, I wanted it to be stiff and snappy and responsive. All right, here's a blast from the past. I started mountain biking in 1994, and it was on a GT Outpost trail. It was red. I still remember that. It was my first experience on a mountain bike. I'd raced BMX bikes, so I'd been around bikes and liked to ride, but I was in Lake Tahoe. We rented these with my family and we rode all over, and I was absolutely hooked. It felt like I found something that I just was meant to do and resonated with. And ever since then, I would get the GT catalogs and memorize all the models and the spec. Little did I know I would one day become a mountain bike reviewer like this. Maybe that's why it's so easy for me to remember geo measurements and spec and all that stuff in my head when I can't even remember what I had for breakfast yesterday. But this is the GT Karakoram. I restored this. I stripped it down, repainted it. We did a little $300 bike challenge, and we all found vintage bikes and had fun on them. It's got a Marzocchi Bomber Z2, a 2001 fork on there. We've got XTR hubs, front and back, XTR V-brakes. Have you seen the prices that these command on eBay? They're like $200 each. This was the old XT shifter pod and brake combo. XTR rear derailleur, Mavic SUP X517 rims, 26-inch bike. This thing is so cool. It's made with Tongay tubing, really nice tubing. It just is a trip down memory lane, and I keep this so that I can remember how far we've come in mountain bikes. Now, I still have a ton of fun when I ride this. I usually ride it around town for errands and stuff. And I've thrown an Envy stem on here and a Surly Sunrise bar to give me a little more upright riding position, because bikes back then were very different. They had longer stems, longer seat tubes. I would have normally run a size small, but I bought a size, I think this is an 18, which fits more like a modern bike with the exception of the long seat tube. But the reach is about the same. The effective top tube is about the same distance to the bars. And with those Sunrise bars, it's got a nice upright beach cruiser feel. This thing reminds me of my first mountain bike ride. And it reminds me that it doesn't matter which bike you're on. You can have so much fun. You don't need a $10,000 bike. A lot of my bikes are $10,000 bikes, but it doesn't matter. What matters is who you're with, what you're doing, getting out in nature and having fun. And you can absolutely do that on an old bike like this. These aren't going to be the ones you want to take down the double black diamonds, but these are the ones that make like gravel riding or mellow single track trails really fun again. They had nice 67-degree head angles, really ahead of their time, and they just ride so great. And there's something about the simplicity of these old bikes. Now I have plans for this. I want to put a true 1x on there. I'm using this LX shifter as a chain guide to keep it on there, because there's no clutch on here and it's not a very strong spring, so I drop chains a lot off-road. So I want to put 5-dev cranks on here. I want to put an external bottom bracket on there and a nicer 1x up there. And then I think I'm going to leave it alone. But man, this thing just brings back all the good feels from the 90s about why I love mountain biking in the first place. Now this next bike is my wife's bike. This is her Esker Jaffe Ti. This is a truly special bike as well. These are quite slack. It doesn't show in the pictures very well, but it's quite slack, but it's meant for a 120 fork. And I love that Esker's done that. They have a shreddy hardtail as well with like a 150 fork, but as many of you know, I feel like those ride like staplers when you have a lot of travel up there, or else you just stuff them full of volume tokens and never use all your travel anyway. Then what's the point? So we built this up with a super light Stepcast 34 fork. We've got 1-up carbon bars on here. So yeah, we got that Stepcast 34 fork, and then these wheels that I built up for her with bird spokes, Onyx Vesper hubs, and these Ibis S35 carbon rims. This is such a special wheel set. We've got Kashima 5-dev cranks, and you can see she's wearing through the coating. I think that's an absolute badge of honor when you wear your bike out by riding it so much. That is so cool. Absolute black oval chain ring. We're running a cable derailleur, SRAM XO, which shifts beautifully with an XX1 cassette to keep it nice and light back there. Really cool to be able to fit 2 water bottle cages in there. It's just a fantastic bike. And the guys at Esker really know how to put a bike together. They know how to spec a bike really great. For the price, I really like what they do on their bikes. It feels like it's actually put together by someone who rides instead of a bean counter who's like, hey, we could save $7 over here if we got this really crappy dropper that doesn't quite do what it needs to do, but we could save $7. But these guys really know what they're doing, and any Esker's a safe bet, but the Jaffe and the Hayduke are especially special and near and dear to my heart. This is my Ibis Oso. This is on loan to me from Ibis. I didn't purchase this. It's my eMTB, my electric bike, e-bike, whatever you want to call it, pedal assist. I'm more of a non-pedal assist bike type of guy. I wish I was healthy enough not to ever need an e-bike, but that's not the case right now. And an e-bike's really opening doors for me to be able to ride when I otherwise wouldn't. I've got a really fascinating video about e-bikes and why there's so much hate for them, and some really interesting educational stuff about that. Make sure you click on that video to get my opinion on e-bikes and what we can do to help smooth over relationships between trail users and mountain bikers and e-bikers and stuff like that. The people at Ibis have been amazing. When they found out about my neurological disease that I got, we connected and they said, hey, I think it'd be great for you to ride an Oso. It'll get you out on the trails for the days that you're too weak. Now here in Sedona, single track is not permitted to be ridden on eMTBs, but there are some Jeep fire roads that I can ride it on and riding it around town. But I've been able to take this to Utah, take it to Moab to ride Slick Rock Trail, Gooseberry Mesa, and it's been able to get me pedaling on days that I otherwise wouldn't be able to ride a bike, when my energy was too low or my arthritis was too bad or the neurological stuff was really kicking in and I just couldn't get out on a bike. This was a great option. This thing's really interesting. It's not trying to look like a normal bike. They're not hiding that it's an e-bike. Other companies like Santa Cruz are trying to make their e-bikes look as non-e-bike as possible. Ibis took the other route and did a really unique carbon fiber rear swing arm, and it's just got these really swoopy Ibis-like tubes. It's got an asymmetrical shock here on one side and a brace on the other. Pretty cool to see. It's a full power e-bike and it's got a lot of battery and a lot of power in this Bosch motor, so you can go a long ways on that thing. I feel like e-bikes still have a ways to go to be a little bit simpler. I feel like this is the exact opposite of my single speeds, where my single speeds are just simple machines that have brakes and a dropper lever and that's it, and it's just a simple machine. This has a lot going on. It has wheel sensors, it has, it's measuring how much torque you're putting in, it has a display up here, we've got cables running all over and extra wires going places. That's just the nature of e-bikes right now, but I think I foresee a future where that's all cleaned up and tidy. I'd love to just have a power button right here that's just like low, medium, high, and that's it. And no cables and no screens and no extra shift pods up here. I usually just set it where I want and that's where I go for my ride. With my condition, I still get tired even on an e-bike, and not just like winded because I've been cranking up a hill, but like even just going downhill, like my shoulders and arms will get tired a lot faster. And I don't always run this at full turbo mode. A lot of times I'll back it off. I don't necessarily need to climb faster. I enjoy the climbs. I just need a little bit of help. So I'll usually run it in one of the middle or lower modes. So I'm still getting a workout, I'm still pedaling, but I'm not just flying up the hill. But the nice thing is when I do feel wiped out and my neurological disease kicks in especially and I get that fatigue, I can boost it up to turbo and just get out of there. If I just need to pedal out or it's like a 3 or 4 mile death march on a Jeep road, I can just kick it into turbo when I'm completely gassed and it'll take me home. So that's been really nice to be able to adjust that, and an e-bike has been a big part of my still being able to enjoy the sport despite my neurological disease. But it doesn't solve all the problems. It brings some unique problems as well, and I talk about this on this channel on a couple other videos. So I'm going to keep experimenting with more and more e-bikes. You'll see more and more of that content on this channel, as it's a way that I get to keep riding despite my condition. But I think we're going to see a ton of development in the e-bike front. Next up is another Newhouse Metalworks Hummingbird. This is the titanium one from Nick Newhouse. They did a special anodization with Anno by Gary for the Hardtail Party channel. This one's set up single speed. It's incredibly light. It's incredibly quick. The Geo's just dialed. The Hummingbird's the perfect name for it. It just kind of darts around and dances on the trail. A lot of fun, very versatile, and it has a little bit different ride feel than the steel one. I've got a whole video comparing those back to back where I ride the same trail back to back. Make sure you check that out if you're curious how Nick's steel frames compare to his Ti frames. But this is just another stunning build. 5-dev Ti cranks here, Ti chainring. We're running the Wheels Manufacturing Solo XD conversion kit to run single speed on an XD driver. These are Forge and Bond AM30 wheels, ground control front and rear. That's a little bit sketchy as a front tire for me, but it works when I'm single speeding. 150 mil, fall line 9.8, Ti Stanton bars, Ti 5-dev 50 mil stem. Paul Clamper mechanical brakes. You're sensing a theme here. I love mechanical brakes, I love Ti bars, and I love 5-dev's Ti stem and their cranks as well. Now I have too many bikes and there's a lot of overlap with these. There's a ton of overlap with this and the steel one. They're exact same bike, just different frame material. But they're different enough that currently I'm hanging on to both of them. They have the same exact geometry. They ride quite similar, but I build them up a little bit different to highlight the strengths of each of these builds. Once again, if you're curious in Nick Newhouse's stuff, go check that video out where I compare the steel versus Ti. And I've also got a little promo code for you guys. If you're going to order one of these, use the code in the description below. Nick will hook you up with some swag. Here's my other e-bike. My wife and I share this, and it's become one of our favorite bikes. This is a Specialized Como aluminum frame city cruiser bike, slick tires, lights, fenders, smooth pedals so I can ride it with my flip-flops. And we've got our Mac ride set up on there. So we ride our daughter to school on this all the time, and we can get there faster than in the car. It's really designed with comfort, and I really think we could learn some things about this for mountain bikes as well. They've just done a simple integration. It's just kind of tidy looking. And there's a power button on here. There are 2 extra wires coming up here, but I feel like it's a little bit tidier than some of the other e-bike setups. Swept back comfort bars here. Hydraulic brakes, and it's got Dior shifting on it, which is fantastic. Mid-drive in there. It's just got really smooth power delivery. Riding around paved trails on one of these is really fun. I see us getting another e-bike like this in our family so that we can all go out as a family. And my daughter's getting a little too big for the Mac ride, and so we're at the point now where I'm looking into cargo e-bikes. I don't know where I'm going to store it. I have a storage problem with these bikes as it is, but I do think a cargo e-bike is going to make sense for us. This is another bike that I've been using a lot in my recovery. I'll just ride around the block and just relax. And if I'm too exhausted to put in a lot of effort, I can kick up into turbo mode and let it take me home with just light pedaling. It's still pedal assist. There's no throttle on it. I don't ever see myself owning a bike with a throttle on it. I like motorcycles and gas and those engines and stuff, but I don't love throttles on e-bikes so much. But maybe that'll change over time. But this bike just brings so much joy to our family. It's just smooth, it's easy to ride. Like I said, I don't need special shoes. I can just throw my flip-flops on. And it helps me remember that a lot of bike consumers out there don't care about things like boost or non-boost or tubeless or cush core or carbon rims. They're just out there to experience the world and to ride around. And the design of this reminds me of that. Here we are at the end. This is my gravel bike, or I'm going to call it a drop bar mountain bike because it's more mountain bike than gravel bike. This is the Kodik Cascade, and it's got full mountain bike components. It's boost front and rear, 29 wheels, not 700C. It'll fit up to 2.6 tires in here. So you can go monster size in there. Bike packing. I upgraded the brakes for Paul clampers, of course, and they work with the stock brake levers. And it's cool to see that it's got Advent X on it, which is the same wide range 10-speed I use on a lot of my mountain bikes as well. Steel frame, beautiful ride feel. It's even got a dropper built into it. They also make a flat bar version, and I may convert this to flat bar one day, but a lot of my viewers are coming from gravel. And I know this isn't truly a gravel bike, but I wanted to connect more with them and learn what the differences are between gravel and mountain bike. I don't seriously ride road bikes. A lot of my friends do, and they've all been hit by cars, and I'm scared to death about getting hit by a car. A lot of mountain bikers came from road cycling before. I don't have a road background. So to me, drop bars feel extremely foreign, sketchy, and out of control. But I've ridden this bike in a few different places, and it's surprised me how capable this thing truly is. I need to spend more time with it and get used to the drop bars. But this thing is really up for anything. It's got a really smooth ride. I think if I was biking across the United States, this is what I'd choose. I'd probably put a slicker tire on there. But if I wanted to hit some single track, I could. Obviously, it's got its limits. It's no mountain bike, and you don't just blast down the trails. But it's got a slack head angle. It's got a dropper. It's not the lightest bike in the world, but it's got a really smooth steel frame. Kodak makes beautiful frames that ride so well. Reynolds 853 tubing on here, external routing. Just a wonderful little bike that's pretty much up for anything. So if you're looking for a drop bar mountain bike, this is the way to go. It's a suspension corrected fork in geometry. You can actually run a 100 mil SID suspension fork on here, a mountain bike fork, to get a little more travel. I'm gonna try that in the future, but for now, I'm really enjoying it rigid and just getting around town. It's a cool little bike. I don't have the type of gravel trails that I think this was meant for here. Single track in Sedona is a little much for this. And the gravel trails, or at least the gravel roads, are pretty washed out from all the side-by-sides that ride on them. And there's so much washboard that it's really unpleasant. But I want to take a trip and do maybe like a bike packing trip where it is gravel roads that don't just rattle you to death. And I could really put down 50, 60, 70 miles in the saddle. I think something like this would be a fantastic tool for that job. So there you have it. I'm embarrassed by how many bikes I have. And I probably have another 10 frames that I didn't show that aren't currently built up that I'm currently cycling through. And I have about 8 different bikes in for review right now. So bikes are constantly going in and out and in and out of my shop. And in 2 or 3 months, half of these bikes may be on and I might have something new. Or some of the old standbys will still be here in a couple years. You never know. I don't feel like I need the latest and greatest thing, especially when I've got something that works really well. When I upgrade, I think about, what don't I have? What is my current bike not doing? And will the new bike be able to do that? Yes or no? One of the benefits of being a mountain bike reviewer is that I get to ride all the different bikes in the world. One of the disadvantages is when you ride those special ones that stick in your head that you cannot get out of your head, they haunt you. And when you find those bikes that haunt you, you inevitably go out and buy them and add them to your stable because something is just super special about those. If you want bike recommendations on super special bikes for you, there are many super special bikes that are not in my fleet right now. But if you want to pick my brain and get my advice and learn what some of the most special bikes are for your type of riding and your budget, become a patron today. That's my main business, is one-on-one bike consultation. I work with people to help them pick the perfect bike for their riding style and budget. Oftentimes, we're looking at used bikes and people are sending me classified ads that they've found, and I can help them sort through that and let them know, is this overpriced? Is this underpriced? Did you see that fork on there? It's really not what it says it is, and I can help people navigate that. Anyway, that's how I put food on my table for my family and how I support myself. This is my full-time job, and I love doing it. I love being able to ride so many bikes and pick up on the nuances between them. And I hope you've enjoyed this journey. I hope this didn't feel like bragging at all. I don't mean for this to sound like bragging. I know it's absurd how many bikes I have. Everybody says you only have 1 butt and 2 pairs of legs. How many bikes do you need? You can only ride one of these one at a time. I love mountain biking. It's what I centered my life around. It's why I moved to Sedona. And each one of these different bikes has a different thing that it does really well. And you know, some people will have a really expensive boat. Some people are really into fly fishing and have really great stuff there. This is my thing, and this is what makes me happy. And I love bicycles, and I love sharing that passion with other people. What bike surprised you the most, and which bike out of all of these intrigues you the most? I'd love to hear in the comments below. Thanks for watching, Big Brains. You guys are awesome.